What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Man, we got almost the whole squad in the house with us here tonight. We got Mr. Adrian Campbell, Mr. Mike Williams. How y'all doing tonight?
I'm good, man. You see this heat we got over here? You see the heat?
Yes,
Hey.
Look. Shout out to Adrian. And look, we got the whole squad, man.
The whole squad.
If you listen in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, that's why you need to be a subscriber on YouTube so you can see what the heck we talking about. I ain't gonna say what else it is, but yeah, hoodies hitting stores soon. First quarter next year, God willing. Working on a few things. But shout out to Adrian, man. He's 100% responsible for this. Dude, I love this, man. It's one of the coolest gifts anybody's ever given me, man. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, y'all welcome, fam.
Definitely. And in this show here tonight is action-packed. It's everything you need and more. Regular NFL season's almost over, but we ain't almost over because we got a lot of heat for y'all here tonight, okay? Tonight, we're going to talk about the Daron Payne, Josh Allen situation. We're going to take and talk about Joe Burrow's comments on running up the score, baby. Is it the right thing or wrong thing? We're going to get into that, right? A few coaches on the hot seat. Some names might really might shock you. So you guys go ahead and stay tuned. In the meantime, shout out to Ill Sense Birth and Waylay Creations, Tarney Waylay, excuse me. I'm going to play one of the dopest intros you've ever heard in your life, and then we're going to talk about some Monday Night Football and kick off the show. See you in a sec.
Touchdown with Doug Smith, celebrate, that's a new move. Heinzman, 2 views, catch him on YouTube. NFL coverage, interviews, who lose, who win, who lose. Comedy, you choose, it's not about moolah. The QB's like Tua is missing in action. No L's on my shooter. Play it like Marino, it's a gamble like casino. Hungry for it, but you know we still gon' try to feed the beef. Rivalries will lead the conference. Cowboys are the Eagles. Will Belichick be a threat? Better check. Tomlin on deck. Much respect to the vet. What to expect? Gotta tune in for the rest. Make sure to sub like check. At the best, bad boy, the sports podcast. For the threat across the north, east, south, in the west. Sitting back clueless, time to tune in. Now another sports center, it's a movement.
Like my man Ill Sense Birth said, across the east, north, west, south, and the west. I can't remember. I lost the words already. But we the best is what we're trying to say. We the best. That's going to be on the bloopers there. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith, man. Look, man, this is not a one-man show, man. Adrian, Mike, Isaac, if you're watching, man. Look, man, I got a team of people, man. A team of people here that help this thing run. So I just want to take the time to really appreciate y'all, man. There's some times where I'm like, yo, I got stuff going on in my personal life or whatever's work or whatever's happening, man. Sometimes y'all take and come through. And I appreciate y'all, man. So shout out to y'all, man. Just want to mean that from the bottom of my heart, man.
Salute, brother.
We appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Real quick, man, before we do a real brief recap of the games from this past weekend, we're going to take and talk about Monday Night Football. Now, tonight, the Miami Dolphins, they're potentially going to continue to streak alive, and they need it. You know, they're going up against the Saints, who have a very ferocious defense. However, their starting quarterbacks, they're all the way at the bottom of the barrel with Ian Bach. Is that his name? Ian Bach.
Whoever.
Ian Bach is going to be starting, okay? Highly doubt it's another Tom Brady situation where he comes and rises to the occasion because Miami's defense is looking ferocious. But Miami also has done a lot of cosmetic surgery. Let's not act like they don't have one of the worst O-lines and one of the worst play calling. But Tua is really making the best out of the situation. Right now, he currently leads the NFL and highest QBR rating in the entire NFL in the fourth quarter. Little cool fact, you know, it's not a whole lot there, but against guys like Pat Mahomes and the crazy NFL season that we've had and the O-line and the hits and the injuries that he's had this season, it speaks volumes. I love it. Guys, let's go around. Mr. Mike Williams, I'll start with you. What's your prediction for tonight's score?
Man, this is a hard game just because Sean Payton's always shown he could be a quarterback risker, and their defense is absolutely balling right now. I think it's going to be a very, very low scoring game, and I'm not trying to hand the Dolphins.
No, you
good. I think it's going to be like a 15. Like 12 type game, and I'm gonna take the Saints because of how their defense is humming right now.
Okay, that's respectable. Yeah, no, their defense is sneaky good. I mean, I hate to say they even maybe have a Super Bowl caliber defense, but that offense is Yeah, Adrian, you go next. What you think?
I've got it 20-13 in the Saints' favor. I think Tua is going to play admirably tonight, but I think he's going to go against probably one of the tougher defenses that he's faced this season, and this is a defense that is clicking at the right time. Every question that we have about the Saints team, it has to do with the person under center. But last time I checked, Kamara is a good to go tonight. So whenever you have him, I like their odds, even against a very, stout Miami defense. I think it'll be very competitive. And like I said, if Sean Payton is able to extract any level of quarterback play from whoever's under center, I think that defense keeps this game close where it's winnable, but obviously not going to be a bunch of points tonight.
Gotcha. I love it. Yeah, I see the first half being very boring. I see the first half being a game where who are you? Like who is the Miami Dolphins? Who are the New Orleans Saints at this point of the season, right? I have a ginormous respect for Saints. Who that nation? Who that say they're going to beat them Saints? Miami going to do it tonight. That's right. I got Miami Dolphins winning this thing by 2 points. All right. I have them winning 25-23. I have it being a very exciting second half. But we shall see. Maybe they end up winning like 13-10 or something like that. But it's good. Be ready for a defensive game because it's two really good defense. Sean Payton is one of the great coaches of the NFL, future Hall of Famer, in my humble opinion. Great respect for him. And Coach Flo's out here trying to make a name for himself. But we shall see. I could be wrong. It could be that you guys are right. So it should be very, very, very interesting. So all right, and then of course we got let's get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off with the Broncos versus Raiders. Okay, Denver Broncos versus Raiders. Mike, you want to take it away on this one, man?
Doug, so we're gonna start off with a kill shot to Mike's feelings, right?
No,
yeah. Nah, so
this is not choosing Miami, Mike.
This is for that. Nah, but it's that game was extremely disappointing. I think it was winnable. And to be honest with you, looking at it, Drew Lock actually played relatively well. He put us in good positions. Melvin Gordon had his worst game the entire year. He had like 4 yards. He has negative yards in the first half. It was a terrible game for him. And Javonte Williams really couldn't get going. Their line actually overpowered our backups. We had one starter on the line, I believe. A couple people hurt, a couple people in COVID protocol. But we're on our backup left and right tackles. It was, and they absolutely took advantage of that, right? Our defense played fairly well, but I definitely, I think they gave Derek Carr a little bit too much respect. We were playing real soft the whole game, and Josh Jacobs, as a result, was just running straight down our throats with some of the injuries we were having. So they took advantage of weakness we had. Our defense did the best they could in that situation, but the Raiders definitely pulled it through, swept us this year, which makes me absolutely sick to my stomach, but they definitely earned that W for sure. Put themselves in playoff contention. So,
most definitely. Hey, shout out to my brother Marshall, listener of Touchdown Nation. He's over the moon that his boys are smoking that Broncos pack right now. Regardless, it was a good game. Derek Carr, I don't know what to make of him anymore, Doug. Like, I want to put him in the good quarterbacks, but then he makes those plays, every game where you're like, why is this guy under center? I can tell you this Raiders team, this offensively, they are no fun to watch without Darren Waller. It is painful watching them play football. If they manage to weasel their way into the playoffs, and there are several scenarios where they can get into these playoffs, I'm not looking forward to watching them. That's going to be some very uninspired football, especially with no Darren Waller. So, kudos to the Raiders. Hey, shout out to you, Marshall. I know you're happy. Give Mike all the smoke on Facebook.
Hey, shout out to Marshall, man, for being a loyal listener of the show, man. We appreciate you, man. That rivalry, man, it's fierce, man, when it comes to, because, those that don't know, I do a lot of marketing of this show on Facebook, right? A lot of our subscribers come through Facebook. And in doing that, I joined everybody's fan groups. So I can also keeps me in the loop of what's going on too, right? And man, they are a passionate bunch, both the Broncos and the Raiders, man. And they're a team that, though, yes, this year did not turn out how you wanted it to, they still have a lot of pieces of the puzzle together, more so than a team like the Jaguars or the Detroit Lions or something like that. So gonna be pretty excited for both those franchises. Next game we want to talk about. Wow, what a stinker the Raiders. The Steelers. Wow, they won. Not this game. They lost 36-10 versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Pat Mahomes, is he heating up at the right time, man? What are you guys' thoughts on this game?
Yeah, he's definitely heating up at the right time. And, Big Ben's not going out in a high note. Like, he probably should have called it a career a little bit ago. And the Chiefs just look like they're humming. They look like the reason that we all predicted them to be, a good high seed or whatever. And I take ownership where it's due. In the beginning of the season, I was like, nah, man, we got it. We're winning. They're losing. They're done. And Patrick Mahomes said, yeah, I got something for you. And the second half this year has been absolutely on fire. Moving Chris Jones back to his position, Snead back healthy. They're definitely balling. Their defense is playing way better, and their offense is doing what they're doing, making plays. So, yeah, that's a dangerous team, but we all knew that's a dangerous team. So,
well, I think too something to be said is, sure, Mahomes was making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes earlier in the season, but I think we all forget all the adjustments that they made along their offensive line this offseason. That is a unit that hasn't really spent a lot of time together. So they're now starting to click all the new acquisitions and pieces. And your starting center is a rookie, who, by the way, most impressive offensive lineman rookie that we've seen this year. And that's saying something, considering that it's a draft that had Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater, in the same draft, and Creed Humphrey has dominated. I think he's actually the highest graded center in the league. So not just for a rookie, just highest grade center in the league, period. But it looks like that unit has finally started to mesh. You could see Pat is a lot more comfortable. The arm talent, we never questioned the arm talent. It was all decision making. It looks like he has some of that cleaned up. And this game against a battered Steelers team, even with, a stout defense that Mike Tomlin is used to putting forward, TJ Watt looks like that injury is just, it's not going to let him be the player that he is. And that's a shame, because I do think that there is a legitimate argument for him to be defensive player of the year, but that injury that he has is not going to let him finish up his candidacy this year. And the Chiefs did this game without Travis Kelce. I think that's the scariest thing, is that they could still fire off 36 points against, I would still call a respectable defense, minus, their third and forever guy. So once again, they win the AFC West for I think the sixth straight season in a row. None of us would have called that a few weeks ago when they were in their drowning pool. And it looks like they're going to fight for that number one seed in the AFC. It could look like those playoffs are going to go through Kansas City. And I know nobody in the AFC really wants that to happen, because Arrowhead is a very loud and raucous stadium.
And once you see this, man, over, man, that
tomahawk
crowd,
chop.
man, tomahawk chop, man, that's fierce. Next game, a third co-host of the show, Isaac, couldn't make it here tonight, but he was at the game last night. As y'all know, he's a huge Washington football team fan, and he was at Cowboy Stadium. But I would like him to break this one down, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the honors. Cowboys, Lord have mercy. Washington, you had one job to do, and you didn't do it. You did not do it. I know you want to blame the Rona, you want to blame the 19, but you had one job to do, and you failed. You failed miserably. You let down all of America, with the exception of Texas. And I love Texas, but I don't love the Cowboys. Lord have mercy. They lost 56-14. They got beat like they stole from church. They got beat like they oh man, I can't think of an analogy, man. Mike, man, Adrian, man, what are y'all thoughts on this?
I think Isaac wasted his Christmas money on this flight. That's what I think.
I do. I heard it was a great fan experience. This game was so bad. Cooper Rush came in and threw a touchdown. Cooper Rush, backup quarterback. Like this game was so bad. The Cowboys beat the Washington football team so bad that the Washington football team forgot who they were supposed to be playing against and start fighting each other. Right?
Yeah.
Like it was Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne was throwing blows because they thought they were just getting beat up so bad they woke up and thought the other person was the Cowboy. I don't know what happened. But they just had their absolute way with that. And I think Isaac's a big proponent of, next man up. But I really do believe like there's only a certain amount of next man up in certain positions.
They beat the people that was there, and the people that wasn't there, any of the men up was going to get trounced yesterday. Like that was ugly.
It was rough. Like their defense played very well. That was probably the best defensive game of the year. And their offense by far, throwing out 56 points, just disrespectfully running up the score against a division rival. I'm here for it.
Well, and I'll tell you this because I know analysts and a lot of talking heads have made a lot of noise about this Cowboys performance last night. And granted, if you're a Cowboys fan, you already thought they were going to the Super Bowl long before you saw what happened last night. I'm gonna be 1,000% honest with you guys. Even in spite of yesterday's victory, I'm not scared of the Cowboys. Nobody is scared of this team. They're not gonna find another team like the Washington football team in the playoffs to beat up on. And even though their record says that they're 11 and 4 now. 11-4. They played arguably the softest schedule in the league. And the only reason that they won the NFC East yesterday was because of the Raiders. How is it from a completely different conference allows you to win? And your
tiebreaker for strength of schedule or something, apparently.
Man,
it's the Illuminati, Adrian.
That's what it is. But
Jay-Z and Lady Gaga got together. They covered their eye. They sacrificed the goat, and they drank some blood. And that's how it happened.
Yeah, I guess that's how it goes, man. It's just that's one of the more bizarre storylines from yesterday is that they clinched the East before the game started because of an AFC team. Mm-hmm. I guess Cowboys need all the help they can get.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that game, there was Mike. You had some that made me almost fall out my seat. They started fighting each other and forgot that they had to fight the other team. Daron Payne and Mr. Josh Allen. I said it in the right, Allen.
Jonathan Allen, yeah.
Jonathan Allen, excuse me. Thank you. So, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, do y'all agree with what happened? The dude took his finger and went like this. Like, that's something like, when your drunk ex-girlfriend see you at the club, man, having fun, and then she just, it's you again. Like, that's just like a ultimate sign of disrespect. What are your thoughts on that?
I think adults should keep their hands to themselves is what I think. And I don't know where you guys come from, but we call that mushing somebody. Yeah, and I don't care who you are, man or woman. If you mush somebody in their face, don't expect for them to come back to you very civilly. Like that's disrespectful. I don't care that you guys are getting your ass beat that way. Like have the disagreement, yell and scream at each other, but do not mush me in my face, man. Like they responded accurately. I think it's unfortunate for them because they made a really terrible night even more clownish by their behavior. But I mean, what else can you do when there are other teams running up the score?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. If somebody mushed me, they're asking for hands. It's like it's a normal thing, right? So Jonathan Allen, we've heard nothing but great things about, like as a teammate, as a leader, etc. A tempers flare. I mean, stuff does happen. Brothers do fight. I don't disagree with that comment. I just think that it got a little bit elevated, and he mushed somebody. Like that's just. I can't imagine the level of frustration for you to mush somebody because something's coming back. Like you don't just go to somebody and go, ugh, and like that's I don't know. But and it just kind of takes away from some of the stuff that could have happened in that game. But you just can clearly see that the Cowboys got under their skin, and Michael Parsons still looking like Rookie of the Year / Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Also, on a side note, the NFC East, y'all are weird. All four of y'all teams in there, y'all are weirdos to the 1,000th degree. Shout out Dragon Seats. Y'all guys just really started getting benches delivered to other people's stadium. Like that's the new flex now. Like
to lose by what 42?
It doesn't matter because the Cowboys did that. The Eagles have done that. Like, why are we having benches shipped to our opponents? Like that's the flex in the NFC East right now. That's what y'all need as a talking point is to get benches. Like, please stop that nonsense and just sit on the regular damn benches and focus on winning the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And like when it comes to that fight, man, my thought on that was that man, he must have been really frustrated to put his hands on another man. And then that punch that came after it, though he missed, had he connected. My man would have been Geno Smith 2.0. Let me say that. He would have been like, I don't care how big you are, man. Like, don't put your dang hands on me. And then he has a leverage, man, because he's pushing off from his quads, man, from sitting down on that bench, man. And like, that could have been a really nasty situation. So I just hope Ron Rivera really takes hold of that team. First, watch the football team. They have a lot to celebrate. I know the season did not end how it wanted to, but I think you got your guy in Heineke. I think that you do. You got a lot of McLaurin, one of the best receivers in the league. maybe top 5. Not maybe you got to put them in the top 8 or top 7. You know,
we're not gonna have that conversation.
No, I know. We bring Isaac up in here, man. It's going down, man. Now, shout out to my brother Isaac for real. But yeah, man, you know, they have a lot to celebrate, man. But they are also, if they don't have a strong offseason, a strong free agency, a strong draft, even bringing in maybe additional coaching personnel and letting go of some people, if they don't take and do these things, we're gonna see the same thing again next year, man. So I think them dudes are. I think you know. I think they'll be back. You know, I don't think that this is going to derail the team, derail Washington or anything like that. But boy, was I shocked. That was
Everybody was.
Something else right there. Next game we're going to talk about real briefly. Not a whole lot to see here, folks. Chicago Bears, man, they come out with a dub, 25-24 over the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks continue to plunge. The Seattle Seahawks continue to show why they don't know how to create a team. Why Pete Carroll probably needs to step down from coaching. They continue to show us why Russell Wilson probably should be on another team. You know, so yeah, not a whole lot to take and see here, folks. When it comes to
it's the most embarrassing performance of Russell Wilson's career, and it wasn't embarrassing by him. It's just the most embarrassing performance by a Seahawks team that I've seen easily under Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
You can't feel good about that, especially because the Bears playing with nothing else to lose. Like, they go for the 2-point conversion and get it and win that game. And it was an ugly game. That was a game that they should have never televised anywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna stop the show real quick, man. We got the full squad in the house. We got the Fantastic Four. We got all the Spider-Mans on the same dimension in the same episode. Mr. Good Guy, how you doing, man?
Oh man, happy and blessed. How y'all doing?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, look, I don't know how you still smiling, but that's another thing.
Hey man, I don't play for them. What you want me to
now, do? For those who don't know, if this is your first time listening on the show, my brother Isaac is a diehard Washington Redskins /football team / new name here to come. But he is loyal, and ever since I known him, he is loyal to the squad, man. So Isaac, salute to you, because a lot of other folks can't do what you do. They can't do what Adrian does with the Rams or what Mike does with the Broncos or what I do with the Miami Dolphins. You know, honestly, so guys, you buy your team, you got to stick by him.
We have to stick by him, and we already covered that game. And as embarrassing as that performance was, it wasn't the most embarrassing performance of the day. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Y'all know that I'm a champion for the next man up, but I think after 25 guys, there's a limit. I mean, Dallas fans, how happy can you be? You know, you beat up on some 4th and 5th stringers. Congratulations.
Dallas they were high on life the moment the season kicked off because it's their year.
Yeah,
it's their year.
I mean,
as it's every year.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But hey, Doug, I know, like I said, we covered that one already, but I don't know where this game was on you for you to cover. But this is what I think is the most embarrassing game of the week was the Chargers against the Texans.
Yeah,
I'll let you cover that one, my man. I agree.
Okay, to start off, I had heard from some unnamed people from some online peanut gallery that Chargers run LA. That's what I heard. But apparently they don't run LA and they don't run Texas. They don't run nothing but they mouths, apparently, because this is a bad, banged up Texas team. It was bad before the injuries and the COVID started happening, and they're playing without their best defender, playing without their best wideout. And I mean, they got absolutely manhandled by this Chargers team. By all accounts, granted, they were missing some people too, but as much as being talked about Justin Herbert and how great a quarterback he is, and as stout of a defensive mind as Brandon Staley, the Texans had their absolute way with them, putting up 24 points in the fourth quarter. It's really embarrassing if you're a Chargers fan. Like, that is a team that that should have been a get right thing, especially getting ready to go into the playoffs. You guys are fighting for a spot. That's a team that you should have easily went in there and hung 40-50 on with this offense. But instead, they took a giant slide back. And I know Mike is loving that because he hates every AFC West team not named the Denver Broncos.
With the passion. It's interesting. This is why I told y'all earlier in the year, just like we all have this collective thing about that's it. That's who they are. That's what they're going to do. And Soup, you heard they run LA. What they meant is they ran in LA Fitness. One time they were doing their conditioning in LA Fitness, and they were like, that's probably what they meant to say, because clearly this is a team that always lets their fan base down. It's like the Falcons. The Chargers and the Falcons are very similar, except for the Chargers have more talent. And you would think with that defense, the players they got, they got way more talent than the Falcons. But Davis Mills just looked them in their soul and picked them apart yesterday. He had 6 incompletions total the entire game. This man had 21 to 27, 254 yards, 2 tuds. Rex Burkhead had a throwback game. He said white running backs don't exist. They do here. And this man said
that's how white man runs the ball.
Yeah, he said he had 22 carries, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, and it was just absolutely, it was bad. That game was bad, but it was good at the same time. I laughed so hard, but then we got our comeuppance and lost. I figured that Chargers loss, if we would have won, we would have been good, but the Chargers, man, that's absolutely embarrassing. Y'all should go put paper bags over your heads the next game.
Hey, Mike, this morning, I like to read the comments, and, all of us do. We enjoy interacting with you on the comment section and stuff. And so when the draft happened, I had recorded some of the picks and I put them on my YouTube channel. So I got the one for Davis Mills, did well, got 4,000 or 5,000 views, whatever. And that's the most bipolar comment section at all my videos. It's like, he sucks, he's trash, he flopped. And the next one's like, man, he's the GOAT, man. He should get rookie. So one guy said today, man, hold on, man. I'm about to hold on. I don't want to do this, man. But let me pull this up here, man. He goes, here it is. All right. So this came from Hasnain Momnim. I don't know if I'm saying that right. 3 hours ago, he goes, low key right now is the best rookie QB. Only QB better is maybe Mac Jones.
Hey, I mean, if we're going based off of performance, my guy's not too wrong.
He did go off last night, so I'll give it for this week. But I gotta still see more from Mr. Davis Mills.
Well,
but
I'm happy for the Texans because at least he gives them something to talk about. I know they're still going to be looking for their guy to replace Watson, but you might have something viable there if you're unable to trade for a veteran. And we've talked about this quarterback class already. You're pretty much going to get a player about the same caliber as Stills, so you might as well sit with him.
So my next question is, we'll open this up. Does Davis Mills deserve another year? The Texans. What do you guys think?
I would say if he takes what he did last night and continues that for the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks or so, why not? At least give him a shot through training camp, maybe the first couple of weeks next year, and see how it goes. But I don't know. If they're picking that high and you have a chance to get your guy, it's hard to pass up.
Yeah, I think no, I don't think he deserves it. I think he should be in the competition. But if you look at his stuff for the 30, his QBR for the year is 32, 29th in the NFL, right? He's tied for 11th in interceptions. He has 12 tuds to 9 to the interceptions. So before yesterday, he was about 1-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio, and he only has 2,200 yards. Again, that team is a train wreck. They're missing a lot of talent. So I think if they get their line situated a little bit more, add a couple more receivers, they got a lot to do on their defense. Maybe he looks better. I think he earned a roster spot next year to be able to compete. But I don't think you name him as the incumbent starter. Like, this is our guy. I don't think you can do that with what he's shown this year.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, I don't think he's got the job on lock, but I do think he presents an interesting question for that coaching staff in terms of personnel. And like I said, especially if you believe, like I do, that this quarterback draft isn't that deep, and even the top prospects for this year's draft, I don't think that they're that much better than he is. And it's not like the Texans guys, for all the Texans fans or anybody listening, like, if you really think the Texans are going to rebuild this thing overnight, they're not. This is probably going to be a 2 to 3 year process. There's a lot more wrong with that organization than just the quarterback position. So unless they're able to acquire, a big name free agent at quarterback, which I just don't see happening. I don't see free agents wanting to go to Houston because of how it's been run. I don't think that you trade up or you put yourself in a position to draft a quarterback this season, knowing that you have many other needs. So yeah, he should, like what Ike said, like what Mike said, he should earn a chance to compete. But yeah, you're not going to name him the starter. I don't think the starter for this team is on the roster currently.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle there. There's been flashes like towards the earlier part of the year where I was like, wow, he shows something, and then there's been times like, well, he's still a rookie. You know what I mean? So I'm not ready to crown him. I'll tell you straight up. But I like what I see. I think that, I mean, let's say they build up that O line, right, and they get some decent receivers in there. We could legit see as early as next year if he's a guy. But I think in the meantime, I think maybe probably draft a QB in like the 6th or 7th round, take a risk on a guy or two. But in the meantime, it's like, hey, you got a lot of other issues, man. You got coaching issues, you got management issues. You have a lot of stuff wrong with the Texans that Deshaun Watson ultimately said that I want to leave. Like we can't just ignore that, So looking at the whole picture, I like it. They have a lot that they need to fix, and it's a lot, man. But I like Davis Mills, and congrats on beating the living breaks off the Chargers last night. Huge win. Real briefly to wrap these up here, we got the Buccaneers, man. They bounced back 32-6 over the Carolina Panthers. We got Bills. They won 33-21. Eagles won 34-10. Jets came out with a dub 26-21. And then I want to take in cover. I'll say that game here last. Rams over Vikings. 30-23. Adrian, you got a few thoughts on that?
Yeah. One, happy that we got the victory. Two, my dad is very upset. He's a Vikings fan. Three, the Rams got extremely lucky yesterday thanks to a Brandon Powell 61-yard punt return. Matt Stafford played one of the worst games of his season, and as a fan, it concerns me. There's a lot of optimism across Twitter and across social media about this team now because given how awful he played yesterday, and we were still able to put up 30 points and come out with the win. But on the other hand, I'm super nervous because this is a team that is expected. One, we locked up our seat in the playoffs. Now it's just where we're going to be final seeding at, but we are 100% in the playoffs. And I don't know which version of Matt Stafford is going to show up on Sunday. That is a problem that I have with him. As great as he's been, and his numbers, his stats will indicate that he's having a very good year. But as I was arguing with some of my fellow Ramley on Twitter, all the pretty stats and stuff is just window dressing. He wasn't brought here to put up gaudy numbers. He was brought here to make us compete with some of these better quality level competitions and to take us to where Jared Goff couldn't. He played, I guess you could say he played admirably against Green Bay, but we got monkey stomped by the Titans thanks to him gifting some points. We got monkey stomped by the 49ers thanks to some points that he gave him. And that first game where Arizona came to LA, he could not hit the broadside of a barn. And even though the score was closer than, what the actual final score indicated, his performance wasn't too great in that. And then yesterday, like I said, probably one of his worst performances. He threw 3 interceptions yesterday. It's really inexcusable. If it wasn't for that punt return and Sony Michel being the rock that he is, we would have been in trouble. That and Jalen absolutely sunning Justin Jefferson. Do not let Justin Jefferson's stat line confuse you that he cooked Jalen Ramsey. That is not what happened. Most of those yards that he got, he was playing on Darius Williams. I think PFF had him locked up for 24 yards when Ramsey was in coverage, and I think that was on like 14 targets. It was pretty insane. KD even tweeted out during the game that Jalen Ramsey has mastered his position. He's mastered the role, and I think that's evident. Aaron Donald continues to be disruptive in the run game, and I was told that he's not an effective run defender. Go ask the Vikings if he's an effective run defender. He notched his 12th sack on the season, so he's putting together his Defensive Player of the Year candidacy, even though I know y'all won't vote for him because you're tired of hearing his name and because he doesn't have the same amount of sacks as TJ Watt, but he's still the best defensive player in this game, bar none, and the gap between him at 1 and whoever you want to put at 2 is significant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't see him slowing down either, man. He's amazing. He's amazing,
your favorite
man.
Defender's defender. He's your favorite defender's favorite defender. I promise you that.
Like Reggie White's looking down from heaven is like, man, well done, young man.
Hey, Doug, I did want to throw this out there real quick. I know we're about to move on for our wrap-ups with that Eagles-Giants thing, man. Yeah. I honestly think, like, as much as we went hard on Sirianni, I feel like he kind of put himself in the running for Coach of the Year. with kind of how they're playing the end of the season, because they're really running the ball down people's throats. Like they're doing whatever they want to last few weeks. Like the Broncos were their get right game apparently, and I don't like that happened, but it be like that sometimes, right? They beat the brakes off of us to kind of start the season off. They had a few little hiccups or whatever, but I mean, they went from the Raiders loss to blasting the Lions by 38, which they were supposed to. They lost to the Chargers barely. They ended up beating the Saints. They blasted the Jets, beat the Washington football team, beat the Giants. I think they have a good chance of winning out and being the team that I was thinking the Titans would have been in the AFC, were solid team, but nobody wants to play them. And I think they're kind of rounding out to where they've shown they can travel and win games, man. So, like, they're definitely rounding the form at the wrong time for other.
I think there's a lot of teams in the NFC that are set to play spoiler to some of these big teams that are going to be in the playoffs that really shouldn't be in the playoffs, but they're going to mess around and knock somebody out that they had no business knocking out. Eagles are definitely one of that team.
Remember when I told y'all beginning of the year, the team that gets laughed out the gym in the NFC East generally tends to shut everybody up when it's all said and done. And I hated that it's the Eagles, but no, they're, like you said, they're doing it. Granted, they barely beat a depleted Washington team last week, so I'll put a grain of sugar on that or salt on that. We'll see what they do for the rest of the year, but I mean, they do deserve some flowers for what they've done with what they have.
Yeah, this is a no slander zone for Nick Sirianni until further notice.
Apparently, yeah.
I think he gave us the old rigmarole.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna really get him with this conference.
He always has some funny sayings, man. But no, he's doing his thing, man. He's doing his thing, and Jalen Hurts is balling, man. It's been a weird year if you're an Eagles fan. You know, this has been a really weird year for you. Did you want Gardner Minshew, Jalen Hurts, and seeing a lot of phases of this team, man. But what we're seeing is they have a lot more talent than expected.
Well, how is this a weird year if you're an Eagles fan? I'm sorry. Last time I checked, the past few seasons with the Eagles, this is pretty much what it's been. Quarterback carousel. Is he the guy? Is he not the guy? Is the backup going to be the guy that comes and leads us to the promised land? We got a quirky coach. Sometimes our offensive line shows up in place. Sometimes we have a secondary. Sometimes we don't.
I just felt like
it's like pretty typical Philly.
I felt like it was going to be like I'll be real with you. I thought it was going to be like a 4 or 5 win season.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think once the season is over, like once the regular season is over, we'll have to go back on our preseason predictions and just kind of recap what we said versus how they finished, and so we can admit how terribly we are.
I just want to real quick shout out, besides Philly, I want to shout out Philly, the Colts, and Doug, Miami. Y'all keep winning so that Philly does not have 3 top 10 picks, because that's my nightmare. And,
I
love seeing everybody winning. I love seeing their picks like 17 and up. Y'all keep it going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They got our pick, man. It's like, and then, 49ers, they put out quite a few victories this year. So I know we're definitely not going to get a top 10 pick off that, but it is what it is, man. But to finish this off here, Colts, they beat the Cardinals. Cardinals continue to take and show us why they don't deserve to even make it to the playoffs.
They are who we thought they were. They are who we thought they were.
They are who you thought they were. I still got faith in them. I think if they could get it together the last couple of weeks, they might be something in the playoffs. But
I mean, they're in the, for the record, I want this stated too, because you guys have been on my ass about the Cardinals all season. And Adrian, you need to put some respect on their name. Blah blah blah. With the Rams win yesterday against the Vikings, we locked the Cardinals into it. So, Cardinals fans, you're welcome. Your big brother's helping you out again, just like we were supposed to do. You're welcome.
Don't let that come back to bite y'all now.
How's it going to come back to bite me? What? They're going to win the Super Bowl?
I don't know. You might match up against them.
Who cares? Who cares? 1 victory in the last 10 meetings.
Hey, playoffs different, man. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they have no experience there, so
I'll say this with the Cardinals, man. Like I there's one aspect to look at them, right? Kyler Murray, one of the most electric quarterbacks in the league, right? And even though they have built around him, but I still don't feel like they've done that great of a job. I still see him running for his life and stuff like that. And then times where I feel like had they had better coaching, a lot of these games where they lost by 1 possession, they would have won, So it's my big question mark is, question mark. I have my decision made on him is the coach. You know, the coach, and if I compare that to Rams, I definitely give it to the Rams. Absolutely, man. I just quarterback, I give it to the Cardinals. But again, like having a coach who knows what he's doing is important. That's so freaking important. You know what I mean? And I just feel like he's he's Coach McVay's little brother. You know what I mean? When it comes to this, and then they friends in real life too, which adds an interesting dynamic. Well, I don't know about
people forget that that Kingsbury was fired from Texas Tech before he went to USC for a hot second, and then got the coaching job with the Arizona Cardinals. So I don't know where we're getting all this narrative that he's some prolific coach.
I know why.
Last time I checked, he got fired from his last job, and he's on track to get fired from his current one.
It's a copycat league, man. It's like, you know, McVay came in and boom, we saw a Super Bowl appearance super quick, and they're like, young white coach. That's what happened.
The NFL, the NFL always likes a brilliant offensive mind, and regardless of what people say, like his teams in college did well. I mean, the Cardinals generally this year have been putting up points, but I think like as my brother Soup said, like their offense is kind of scrambling around and making plays, and he does that very well. Until you run into a defense like they ran into. The Colts defense is serious.
For real.
So I just think, man, like you're kind of putting more of that doubt in my head, you know, but I think it's looking in the NFC like it's going to be Packers, Bucks.
And it hurt losing D-Hop. Like that's kind of lost in everything. That was a
But I was told AJ Green was going to put them over the top.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was told that AJ Green was going to make it different.
Find whoever said that and shoot that man in the leg. So
I don't know. Here's what I can say, right? In the NFC West, and I'll just speak on this, and then we can move on to whatever else we're going to do. There is only two coaches in the NFC West that we know what they can do when the quarterback position isn't that great, and that's Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, because both of them have been extremely competitive without quote unquote star quarterbacks, right? And some people want to consider Jimmy Garoppolo a star quarterback. I do not consider Jimmy Garoppolo a star quarterback. Jared Goff, by no stretch of the imagination, is a star quarterback, but yet both of those guys were able to get to a Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong, they ultimately lost, but they got to a Super Bowl with that guy. Is Cliff Kingsbury, are we even talking about him as a relevant coach in this league if there's no Kyler Murray? Same thing with Pete Carroll with no Russell Wilson. Are we having these conversations? Do we respect these people without these very dynamic quarterbacks who, by the way, similar body size, frame? Kyler is playing kind of how Russ used to play when, before age came and caught him, run around in the backfield until something comes open and then you throw it because he's got a big arm. I don't think that those two guys are actually good coaches. I think they're bolstered by, ungodly talent under center.
It makes them look good.
Well, like I said, if people honestly believe that Cliff Kingsbury is a good coach, then the only question I would have to them is, then why didn't he feel comfortable rocking with Josh Rosen? Why is it important for him to get Kyler Murray? Because Josh Rosen would have been on par, I think, with Goff and Garoppolo under the right coach, right? A good player maybe could be great, probably won't, but enough to do what you need to do. And now his career is wherever it's at right now. I don't even know what roster he's sitting on.
I think his thing was mental. He didn't have the same passion that everybody else had. That was always the bag on him
since high school.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he's one of those guys that didn't need football. He's stupid rich, and he just plays it because he can. And oftentimes guys like that, they kind of just
well, for the record, Kyler didn't need football either. He had a much more attractive offer to the MLB.
Well, that's subjective because, I mean.
How is it subjective? There was significantly more money on that offer. That's factual.
But the allure of being a number one pick as a quarterback in the NFL, there's nothing that beats that.
Sure, okay, maybe for him, if you got some weird concept of pride and accomplishment, but I'd rather accomplish $128 million guaranteed in my bank account.
Is that what the offer was for?
Yeah, it was insane
for baseball,
and it's baseball money, so that's all guaranteed. That's not maybe you get it, maybe you don't.
I didn't know.
I buy NFL. I'm out.
We like baseball money.
Who offered him? Just out of curiosity.
I can't remember what team offered him. I want to say it was like the Astros or the Rangers. One of those two teams that did it, but he had a very, very significant offer. Oakland A's, right?
It was the Oakland A's, and it was like $14 billion, which was at the time a guaranteed $14 million, which was the highest guaranteed
over X amount of years, and it wasn't going to be like it was like $14 million per, right?
$14 million a year or $14 million overall. Because if it's $14 million overall,
it was like a
definitely
$14 million.
quarterback.
It was a $14 million bonus to get him to sign, and then like $5-6 million a year. But that bonus at the time,
Yeah,
he wasn't even the number one
that's
overall
a massive
pick.
bonus.
For that
a
was his sign-in bonus. So like, I mean with that starting out, he would have had that A-Rod money.
What I meant,
Giancarlo.
My point more so with what I meant about Josh Rosen not needing football, he comes from a very, very rich family with deep pocket, like generational wealth. Like
Johnny Manziel.
More so than that. Like their pockets are deep. So
elites,
he never needed football, like silver spoon in the mouth type deal. Kyler's more so his athletic ability caused him to have a choice on what he wanted. But Josh Rosen, like, he could leave sports tomorrow and live on his family's money for the rest of his life. He
should leave sports tomorrow.
Yeah, I
yeah.
Okay.
It was definitely interesting with Josh Rosen, because I remember, I don't mean to go super off topic here, man, but like when Miami got him that second round pick, I was like, what happened that it was so bad that like they didn't want you in Arizona? But then the other part was the upside, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also I was like, well, a second round pick's a pretty valuable pick. You know what I mean? It's so I don't know, man. It was just one of those things that he just didn't work out good for us. Mind you, he was running for his life with our O-line being so bad. But
nobody here feels sorry for Josh Rosen, so we'll close that chapter.
Moving on. Wrapping it up here, and then we got some comments here about Mr. Joe Burrow and what your thoughts are. But wrap this up here. Packers, they edged out the Browns 24-22. We got the Titans. Very close game. Great defensive game. 20-17 to the 49ers. Titans come out with the dub. They continue to wow us, man. And then, of course, the last game I'm going to take and talk about here today, and we're going to get into his comments and what that means, if you agree, if you disagree, what your stance ultimately is. Here it is, 41-21. Big brother ain't big brother no more. Cincinnati Bengals come out with the dub. Big Orange. Who Dey Nation, stand up. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen, and we're going to talk about it. Here it is. Boom. Do you agree with Joe Burrow's comments about running up the score?
100.
Mike, go ahead, take it away.
I'm sorry. I was just like, my bad. Yeah. You said Joey Burrow, and I was just like, wish he was on the Broncos. But like, I agree, because that team specifically, and me and Ike had this conversation earlier in the year with the Ravens, right? Their comments and how they kind of run stuff, they don't care. So like they ran it up on the Bengals last year. That's gonna cut like just like this year, the Cowboys with the Washington football team
and the
Eagles. So a solid team like that. I think Washington next year is gonna have their revenge against the Cowboys in one of them games, just like the Bengals this year kept running up the score. I mean, like Joey Burrow had 525 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, and like T. Higgins had almost 200 yards. Jamar Chase had 125. Tyler Boyd had a 68-yard bomb. Like they were playing a 10-year-old on Madden, just running verticals the whole game. They went off. You know what I'm saying? Like Joe Mixon only has 65 yards. That lets you know how much they exposed that secondary. The Ravens have had a tough year, but shoot, if you don't want them to score, stop them.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to these rivalry games, man, divisional rivalries, man, F the other team. All right. It's like you said, we went into Dallas last year, embarrassed them boys on Thanksgiving, and they were like, never again. And they did to us, and we had to sit there and take it. And Ravens, you know what I'm saying? I was talking with my brother Paul, shout out to Paul Burt, diehard Ravens fan, and he was on the same energy. Like, yeah, I mean, we kind of did that to them the last few meetings. So I mean, I guess it was our time. It's like, yeah, when you put that energy out, you got to defend against it at some point, because it's coming back. Yeah, people absolutely. Do not. No division rivals forget anything in the NFL
ever.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him 100%. Joe Burrow, the comment that he made, he said, "This is the NFL. This isn't Pee Wee."
Yep.
And they didn't feel bad the previous year running up on it, and I 1,000% agree with him. And that kind of leads to another talking point that we can have while we're having this one is. In the NFL, in the pros, period, like F sportsmanship. I don't want to hear nothing about sportsmanship. I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to hear anything about it. These guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars. and both sides are getting paid. 11 men on the defense, 11 men on the offense. Both of them are getting paid to do a job. If you have a problem with somebody running up the score on you, then all that money that you're being compensated to stop them, you might want to actually try doing your job. And this has been a long time coming. I don't feel sorry for that. Add to the fact that this is a division rival. Absolutely run the score up. I think more teams should continue to run the score up against anybody. If you're beating the brakes off of them, keep beating the brakes off of them, because we've seen it plenty of times where teams come up off the gas and they give, a second win to their opponents, and these guys end up coming back and making the game more interesting than it should be, or coming back and winning. If you have your foot on their neck, go ahead and crush it and let's be done with it.
Yeah.
But
don't worry about the energy that's going to come back to you. That energy should be reciprocated, period. You should absolutely, if you're lining up from outside another person, your goal should be to destroy them on that football field. I'm sorry. What are we here for?
And last thing on this is, like, in my mind, I think it's cool because first tiebreaker's record, right? Strength of schedule second, and then points scored is third. So, like, them running up the score, like the Cowboys are up the score, some of these teams, that could be a tiebreaker, especially how tight the AFC is. That makes a difference. So I think it makes sense to do, because they could have missed the playoffs, potentially trying to be nice.
Yeah. And this generation is different. And hear me out. So, number one, I agree with it. I agree with running up the score, because sometimes you play conservative and you can still get injured too, right? Mm-hmm. But also, we grew up with the video game. And this video game is called Madden Football. And let me say that when you playing against the computer, it's like it's in these young kids' minds already. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to hang 60. You know what I mean? I'm about to hang 60 today. Oh yeah? Oh, y'all beat me last time? Woo! I got something planned for y'all. So we got this generation of players who they grew up, you know what I mean? Even if they were born in the year 1999, they grew up with Madden. I'm not talking about the crappy Madden from the 90s where everybody looked like blocks. Like, they grew up, Madden 05, Madden 2010, Madden 15, all that, right? So they grew up in that, and then now they're playing the game at the highest level. So when you face off against the Baltimore Ravens and they've been beating the brakes off you for years and years and years, and you get a stud like Joe Burrow in the draft, T. Higgins in the draft, man, you got your old college wideout out there as well too. Run that up all day. Run it up.
And to anybody who disagrees with that, and that, whoever wants to make the obligatory comment about sportsmanship down in the comment section or wherever, I'm going to say this to you, is that in real life, there is no such thing as sportsmanship. I'm all for it in the Pee-wees, when you guys are in high school, when you guys are in middle school playing in those rec leagues. I'm all for sportsmanship, because I do think that you need to learn how to lose graciously. You need to learn how to be benevolent. But in the real life, and I'm not talking about just in sports, I'm talking about anything. If you're good at something and you're being paid to do it professionally, you should try to run up the score as much as possible, because your competition is trying to do the same thing to you. If this is Microsoft versus Apple, do you think that Microsoft is going to bow out because they're just so far in the lead to Apple and what they're doing to computer sales? No, they're back at the drawing board right now, trying to figure out how they can continue to keep their foot on these guys' neck and continue to embarrass them and keep winning. That's what life is, man. It's about being better than the next person by any means necessary. And if you guys want to have the bleeding hearts and help all these people, that's your business. But I'm in the business of winning, because for me, life is not fun when I'm losing. Maybe it is for you guys. It's not for me. I say crush them until they're not a threat anymore.
Always ask yourself, will the next guy do the same thing for me?
The answer will be no.
Also, what would Ray Lewis do?
Pray on it.
I tell you what, he would have probably tackled Joe Burrow yesterday. That's what he probably would have done.
Depends what decade it is. If it's mid 90s,
all I'm saying is, bro,
get the strap.
If it's 2015, maybe he might pray with you.
Oh, he'll pray with you. He'll pray with you after he breaks you, bro. The thing that I was most impressed about yesterday in Joe Burrow's performance, if you guys watch any of those highlights, watch how he's moving around in the pocket. Like, that ACL is no concern for him. His legs, he's all the way healed. I literally watched him bunny hop up into the pocket, then out, set the feet and throw. It's insane. Like, he is in his bag. He's in his element. I hope we get to see this version of Joe Burrow for years to come because he's just fun to watch, regardless of whether you're a fan of another team, right? He's one of these electrifying guys that you just love to see play on Sundays. It's the same thing with Lamar Jackson for me. Like, I don't enjoy the fact that the last time the Ravens met us, they hung like 45 points on us in our own stadium, but watching him is fun to watch. Not when he's beating you behind, but he's still a fun prospect to watch. So long live Joe Burrow. I hope that Cincinnati actually starts spending some money on facilities and players and make that a destination because they have a guy, potentially generational talent. It's too early to say it. This is second year in the league, but potentially, that's franchise-altering quarterback that he has right there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then we're going to go ahead and end the episode on this. Mike, I'm going to let you finish off this last segment. We're going to talk about coaches on the hot seat. Mike, take it away.
Yeah, so I got a couple. I know we all maybe have a few, but obviously the hat I'm wearing is one, potentially. Vic Fangio. I'm kind of confused. Just George Payton is either a silent killer or he really likes Vic Fangio, and I'm leaning towards a silent killer because we had no idea what he was going to do with anything in the draft process, free agency, etc. He just strikes. So I think Vic's on the hot seat. Even though we've made some improvement, I think the only way he could save his job at this point with how Peyton has talked about him would be, we went out, he fires Pat Shurmur, fires Tom McMahon because our special teams and offense have absolutely been atrocious, and kind of go from there. But I feel like he gave him what he needed. Another one, I think a little bit of an overrated coach. No offense to the Washington football team, but Ron Rivera, this is his seventh losing season in 10 years. Like, he's been a head coach 10 years. 70% of the time he's had a losing season. I mean, I'm not talking 500. I'm talking about losing, like not at 500. So I feel like he should be on the hot seat, and I think he might retire. And I know we got a couple other ones too.
No, I fully agree with you right there. I feel like it gives me a little bit of fear that he has as much control over personnel decisions that he does, because I don't want to say the game has passed him by, but
it's running neck and neck with him.
The race is interesting. I'll put it like that. I mean, he's got an old school feel for the game, and it's just not conducive to what we want to do going forward. And it's just, I think, like you said, either retire, maybe go to a team president role. I mean, as a coach with cancer issues, with COVID going around, maybe it's not the best idea to just be coaching these boys on the sideline, man. Delegate the powers to the people that should be in the building, using their powers for the greater good. I'm tired of it, but hey, we're gonna suck now. We're gonna get a quarterback. Have at it next year.
Well, butts that should be on the hot seat. I got Matt Nagy on the hot seat. I know they just got a win over a disgusting Seahawks team, but I think we've seen enough. I think he's one of these guys that is better as an offensive coordinator than he is as a head coach, and I don't think there's any shame in that. But I think he needs to go. Pete Carroll, I'd like to see him retire, because if we're talking about, coaches where the game has kind of passed them by, I think Pete Carroll is one of those guys, especially since he's the oldest coach in the National Football League. You can tell he keeps trying to run this team through the defense, but Legion of Boom was so many years ago, and they don't have the assets to recreate the Legion of Boom. They keep whiffing on their draft picks, and they've whiffed on their last major free agent acquisition, which was Jamal Adams, and that's going to hamper their draft process for the next 2 years. I think it's time to cut bait with him and bring in some new blood there. Another guy that I think absolutely belongs on the hot seat is going to be Matt Rule. And I know people are like, oh, man, maybe too early. But Matt Rule has cycled through three quarterbacks already. Granted, none of them are prolific quarterbacks, right? We had a Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, and now back to Cam Newton. I don't think any of those guys are prolific at any rate, but you've had three different quarterbacks. You've had mediocre results with them. But not only that, I'm very concerned about the decisions making that he had when it comes to Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey 100%. Has had 2 season-ending injuries, like this year and last year. And this is a guy who I think all his talent, everything that he could be, I think is now squandered because they keep rushing him back. And sometimes you just can't recover from those injuries. I don't think Run CMC is going to be the same. And I think for that reason, for how he's handled that injury, I think he deserves to get the boot. He probably won't. I think David Tepper will keep him around, but I think he absolutely deserves to be on the hot seat. along with another coach who I think, Mike, you said they're already going to bring him back, but I think Joe Judge absolutely deserves to be on the hot seat as well. Why he continues to stick with Daniel Jones, I don't know. You had a bunch of veterans at the beginning, maybe. But we talked about it earlier this season. We had a bunch of vets that signed with the Giants, and then after a week of practice with Joe Judge, they thought the better option was to retire. That tells me that there's something going on over there. I don't like how they've handled Saquon. I don't like how they've handled their offseason in terms of drafting and free agent acquisition. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I would cut it. And then if I had to give one more, and I get it, it's probably not fair, but I've seen enough. Robert Saleh in New York.
That's too early.
I'm gonna say Robert Saleh in New York, and I know it's his first season. He wouldn't be the last coach. He wouldn't be the most recent coach to get fired with it. Like Freddie Kitchens got fired after one season. We saw all we needed with that. What's his name? Steve Wilkes got fired after one season with the Arizona Cardinals. I think I've seen enough from him. They clearly chose wrong on Zach Wilson, and I'm going to maintain that. They chose it wrong with their franchise quarterback. Even though he's a defensive-minded head coach, he really hasn't gotten that defense up to play. I think the New York Jets fan base has suffered for long enough, and I don't think you can continue to sell them on, oh, you guys are going to have to wait a little bit longer. Let's let him work out a little bit more. That's a very, I don't know, down and out.
Man,
give me somebody exciting.
I don't know. I just feel like that team, like, you'll probably agree with this. Their talent is so low. And you got to think about it too. The best player on the offense was Mekhi Becton, out for the year. Their best player on defense was Carl Lawson, the free agent acquisition. He was out for the year before you even played. Like, I just think that team is so devoid of talent. You can't like, they're still playing for them. They won yesterday or whatever, right? So it's just like they're void of talent. They give them an offseason, give them
you can be a
more
player's coach. You could be a player's coach, but I just think the brand of football that they're playing there, the brand of football that Robert Saleh wants to play, I don't think the Jets, if I'm a Jets fan, I don't want to sign up for this ride for another 3 to 4 years. I've seen enough. I want something that's splashy, something that's exciting. Give me a reason to buy a ticket other than the fact that I'm a miserable Jets fan living in New Jersey. Give me a reason.
Honestly, I think, like, to your point with the devoid, not having talent, like, I mean, who are they throwing the ball to? I mean, Elijah Moore is electric, been hurt the last few weeks. Jamison Crowder's probably their best receiver, and he's been hurt in and out of the lineup. Corey Davis, he's been coming in and out of the lineup. So, I mean, they need some consistency.
But I think you guys
terrible too.
But Ike, I think you continue to prove my point, man. It's like, yes, who do they have? Who do they have that's exciting? But also, if you're the coach, right, and as much as we don't want to admit it, certain players want to go play for certain guys, right? In the free agent game, if you're a free agent offensively, what makes you want to go to New York, right? Tough market, cold, disgusting.
You'll get paid, and you have the potential to shine on that team.
But we've seen plenty of people turn down a payday to go somewhere that's just better. There's no bright spot on this team. Robert Saleh is not a name that respected players in this league are lining up to go play offense for. It's totally
defense, absolutely
defense. But this team, among other things that they need, which they need some defense, they need offense first. They can't even compete. Even if their defense was stout offensively, these guys do not exist. And this is not a knock on Robert Saleh. I'm not anti-Robert Saleh. I'm just saying the fit with this particular team. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve an opportunity to be a head coach, but I think the odds were stacked against him and his coaching style. It doesn't mesh well with this team. I'd like to see him go somewhere else. But if I'm a Jets fan, I don't want to sit through this next rebuild.
Yeah, no, I think to Adrian's point, for sure, is that what we've seen it where people, they get fired prematurely.
Jim Caldwell.
Shout out to Kevin Correa, man. My boy Piggy Bank Picks, he goes by on Instagram. It's my dog, man. What's happening, man? But yeah, man, like we've seen that a lot, like to Adrian's point, where like a miserable team, it could be like Jim Caldwell in Detroit. Was he there for like 1 year?
2 years, and he went 7-8, and they haven't been that good since they fired him.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, Jim is dope. He's a dope football mind. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I could see if it, all right, 7-8. All right, he's been there for 4 years, man. Let's go. Let's rotate the seat. I get it, but like, that's a little quick, man. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man.
But if we're making that argument, Doug, be honest. Like, you guys be honest right now. If you're a Browns fan, did you want to see a second year of Freddie Kitchens?
Freddie Kitchens, no. But they played miserable under Freddie Kitchens.
But and the Jets have played.
I'll say no. I'll say no.
Better.
I'll give that to you. I'll say no. Yeah.
I think, but you got to look at what he's doing developing players, bro. Like Zach Wilson. I like a coach who's honest, right? Mm-hmm. So like Robert Saleh told Zach Wilson to play more like what was his name? Mike White. Mm-hmm. He said play more like Mike White, where you're reading the defense more, whatever. We knew Zach Wilson was going to come in and have to kind of adjust. He played at BYU, so going from BYU to the NFL is a big jump. Like Robert Jensen jumping from CSU Public to the NFL, that's a big jump. But he made the jump, right? He struggled his first year or so, but
took his time, took his lumps, got it.
Took it and is a Pro Bowler probably now, right? So it's just like that. I just think it's along that line. But you got to look at like Michael Carter is developing very well under him, right? Elijah Moore, when he's on the field, again, injuries or whatever, but when he's on the field, he's getting him the ball. Mekhi Becton, when he was on the field, absolutely dominant. Elijah Vera Tucker. So I just feel like if you give this man some more talent, let's see. Again, if he has a roster that's more talented next year and they're still looking like they're looking now, maybe we got an argument. But I think it takes – I don't believe a quarterback or a coach. I'm always in the camp that if you think you got a franchise guy at quarterback, if you think you got a coach, you got to give him 3 years to get the program. And the Jets have been terrible for a decade. I would not expect Robert Saleh to come in there and fix them in the first year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I wasn't looking for a winning season from the Jets, but the brand of football that they play is not something I want to watch ever. Like, I don't want to pay to see it. Yeah. I see it for free on the weekends, and I still don't want to do that. Like, he's, to me, a good head coach, right? A good head coach, a good sign that things are going to turn is that they give you moments to be excited for. I haven't watched one Jets game this season, even heard highlights about one Jets game that made me think like, oh, this team could be exciting to watch. You look at the Texans, look at the Detroit Lions, for Christ's sake, right? We knew Detroit was going to be terrible this year, but that is a fun team to watch. That's a fun team to watch. Dan Campbell has it figured out. I believe in Dan Campbell, but I don't have that same energy with Robert Saleh. That's the reason that I'm saying that Saleh needs to go, because I'm not saying he's a bad head coach. I'm saying the fit with the team he got is wrong. I think he could do something great on like a Houston Texans team. I think he could do something great down in Houston. I think maybe even with Chicago, he might have a better chance. I just don't like him with the Jets. This is not a knock on Robert Saleh as a head coach. I think he's a brilliant person. I got to watch him defensive coordinate for, I had a front row seat for the last 3 years while he was in San Francisco. I know he has a brilliant football mind. I just think that the match is wrong in New York. That's it.
I think if Jesus coached the Jets, they'd go 8-9. So I don't think there's nothing nobody could do to make that lack of talent. I think it would be a miracle to get to like. I'm just saying, man. Like, what do you? Soup is a tough act. You know what I'm saying, Knight?
Yeah. I mean, this will be a massive offseason for them. Let's see let's see the pieces they bring in. Let's see if there's player buy-in in year 2. But I can understand your point that you're coming from as far as scheme.
Guys, we clown Nick Sirianni all offseason. Shout out Philly, the podcast. We clown Nick Sirianni all offseason. Yeah. Okay. He at least, I want to watch this Eagles team. I want to watch it. And Robert Saleh, for what it's worth, there's 2 teams that you want to watch. One that's exciting, right? And they have the explosive capability. And another one that you want to watch is a train wreck so bad that you can't look away. Robert Saleh is giving us neither of those.
It's the middle of the pack.
Yeah. But I feel like Doug, Jesus would come to that locker room like, have you not seen? Have you not heard? And they wouldn't see or hear because it's the Jets and they'd be 8-9. So I just I'm telling you, like, I don't know what we're expecting from this man.
Jonathan Franklin Myers has been playing lights out for them, but on the converse, Quinnen Williams, who we all regarded as at one point in time as one of the better defensive prospects in this league, ghost.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot that he was playing on this team until I turned on my Madden. I'm like, oh, that's right, they do have him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say this too. Like, you got a guy like Robert Saleh who's like a really dope coach, right? Then you got a guy like Matt Rule, right? He used to coach at Temple, and then he turned that program around. Fast forward after 3 years, I think it was, he goes over to Baylor, turns that program around, gets noticed. Hey, get an NFL interview, right? So then he gets this NFL interview, and I start to become a believer in Matt Rule. And I like how he drafts. I mean, he drafts some really good talent, man. I just I would like to see that draft talent, the eye for talent that Matt Rule has in the Carolina Panthers. I would like to see that. I won't say because I'm a Dolphins fan, so no, I wouldn't like to see it. But I will say this, putting my non-bias aside, I would like to see that with Robert Saleh. Like, can he develop talent? We know you can coach, but there's tons of people who could be great coordinators, but not everybody could be a great head coach. So we'll see what happens. Some people are just meant to be great coordinators, and that is okay. There is nothing wrong with that.
Hey, and he can come coordinate in LA.
You want everybody to go to LA. This man.
Hey, the rest of the league keeps stealing everybody from me. We lost 8 staff members this year, and I wanted to put Brandon Staley on the hot seat because of all of his bad analytics take, but I know he's locked up in on the other side of the building forever.
We're gonna do a 3-team trade. Mike, we're gonna take Fangio. Soup, we're gonna give you Jack Del Rio.
You're out of your mind. You can keep that. You can keep that.
Everybody's happy.
No. Who's happy? No. I need Broncos keep losing, please. Broncos Nation, please blow up their Twitter page, blow up the Broncos Twitter page, Broncos Country, whatever y'all want to call yourself. Please blow up the official Twitter and Facebook and Instagram pages of the Broncos and call for Vic Fangio's firing. I need him in LA because I'm not getting Staley back.
Hey, I hope he goes to Arizona.
I'll say this too, man.
Well, then he just wastes his talents down there. They ain't doing shit anyway. I don't give a damn.
Nah, like there's some teams like they're rich in coaching talent. You know, you got the Buccaneers, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you got Eric Bieniemy over in Kansas City. You know what I mean? There's some dope coordinators, man, and that leaves more pressure for the guys like the Matt Rules. We're like, hey, buddy, you got one more year. Hey, Robert Saleh, you got one more year. You know, so there's some really dope talent.
Ron Rivera.
Ron Rivera. Yeah, he on. I love Showboat Ron, man, but it might be time, man. It might be time. It is time.
Like it might be time for him to take his riverboat and go on downstream, bro. Like we done.
That riverboat, that boat looking like it done found an iceberg. And
the boat looking like it found a hole that they didn't plug up.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's going to be interesting when Black Monday finally comes around for these coaches to see who actually is going to get checked off and to see who's actually going to get an opportunity. I still see the narrative out there that Eric Bieniemy is a terrible interview, and I can't believe that because I've seen him do interviews before, so I don't know how he does on his job interview.
So do we think Sirianni was a good interview? Like, what do you mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, based off of the speeches that he's. Yeah, based on the speeches that he gives in public, that couldn't have been a good job interview. But we could. Hey,
let's role play. Let's role play. I'll be Nick Sirianni. Adrian, I want you to be the interviewer. Okay, I'll be the interviewee. Okay, just ask me like 3 questions. All right, go. I'm Nick Sirianni. Boom, role play. Go.
I got a
question. All right, hey Nick. So we see on your resume that you've accomplished nothing and you've won nothing anywhere that you've been. What are you going to bring to Philadelphia to bring winning football to our team when you have no wins of your own?
Well, here's the thing. America is the greatest country. Do you like mayonnaise sandwiches?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was 10, I played with dinosaurs. Next question.
Okay, so my next question for you, Coach Sirianni, is we have a lot of young talent here. Like, what do you plan to do to help develop this young talent?
I think that's the answer.
This is Philadelphia, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite restaurant? I'm an Applebee's guy, but let me say, I sure do love to go to Ruth Chris.
Oh, my God. Bro.
Next question.
Nick,
Isaac, go ahead.
Isaac here from the Washington Post. As we know, Philly's fan base has been known to be less than patient at times. They've booed Santa. They've booed numerous injured players that have ended their careers, and much to their happiness. What do you plan to do for the city of Philadelphia to give them something to cheer for that's not detrimental?
My mother was a hooker, and living in Philadelphia, I think I'll fit right in. I had a.
I know earlier in the show I said this is a no slander zone for Nick Sirianni, but here we are slandering.
Sirianni.
Look, okay, I'm off of slandering Sirianni, man. He's proven us wrong, at least for this year. He's proven us wrong. My point is, if a guy, we don't have to rehash it. You guys have heard the interview that we got exclusively here. You guys have heard his press conferences, his introductory press conferences, his during this midseason conferences. You really want me to believe that this guy interviewed extremely well? I've seen the post-game conferences with Bieniemy. I've seen him at the training camp in the conferences. You can't tell me that that's a gentleman that does not interview well. I hope to God that he gets a shot. I'd love to see him with, a team that I think honestly he belongs right there in the West. And if I was him, I would go over to the Raiders because I think that's viable. If the coaching slot opens up in Denver, I would actually love to see him in Denver because I think he would be very attractive for a Russell Wilson if you were trying to lure him there, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming. I think Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. We've talked about this multiple times. I said, it's going to be interesting. Black Monday always is interesting. There's always like that one shocker that you're like, wow, I didn't think that he did enough to get fired, but I guess so. And then the guy that everybody in the league is screaming to get fired, that guy still has a job on Tuesday. So it's going to be.
Hey, look, John Gruden coming back. No, I'm
just wait until that lawsuit clears up. We'll see. we'll see. I don't know, man. It's interesting. At the end of the day, what do we know, right? We're just fans. We're just fans. All of us are hoping for the same thing, an opportunity for a Lombardi. I think if we had the chops to really be an NFL GM, we'd be doing that instead of this. So don't mind us, guys. If you guys getting offended, we're just having fun. Some of you guys actually agree with us, and some of y'all are wanting to fire the coaches that we love. So, Detroit, I'm looking at you.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, folks, that is another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith, man. Shout out to y'all, man, and Adrian, man. Look, if you didn't catch this earlier before, man, look at this artwork.
Ike said, "Where's mine at?"
Oh, yes. Sorry, guys. It came straight from the dealership.
Oh!
Yeah, there we go.
Busting it out, man. He busting it out.
Yes, sir.
I love it, man. And that's, man, I love what we have here, man. And regardless where this podcast is at in years to come.
No!
One of my friends just sent that to me.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yo, real talk. Hey, I don't want to go off topic. Y'all ever... I'm not saying I would ever act on these feelings. Y'all ever get like suicidal tendencies, like when your team loses? Like,
no,
I'm just playing. Turn. I don't think that way.
No suicidal tendencies. But I can tell you, I don't want to listen to a sports analyst or talk sports for an entire week when my team loses.
I feel sick. I get angry. My kids like, Daddy, what's wrong? Go away.
I'll put it like this: the FBI doesn't need to listen to my private conversations with Jason or Doug after a loss. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll be heading to Fort Leavenworth quickly.
Ron Rivera, he can. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, man. Hey, just real quick before we log off and sign off here, it's been a pleasure being over here, being back with you guys for these last 2 weeks. I got school getting ready to pick up the next week, so I'll pop in when I can. But I did want to shout out Outside the Pocket podcast one more time. What those guys are doing over there is good. That's another Broncos and a Rams fan. They done put together another podcast that covers the whole league. Go check them out. Go check our brothers out at Truth Be Told Sports Podcast. Shout out to White Mike. He got engaged, man. Super happy for him and what he's got going on over there with the fellas. Hollow Point and Julio are doing over there. Can't wait to connect with those guys soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And there's in this community, man, like. We try to have a lot of really dope people on. I know we had shout out to Jake Ellenbogen, man. Even if you're not a Rams fan, check him out, dude. He does some dope stuff. We've had him on the show. We've had a lot of people on the show. It's not just been a bunch of NFL dudes. Like we've had sports anchors. We had Kim Bocamper from CBS 4 in Miami. We had Devon Jackson, who's done stuff for WDSU, I think it is, down in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And then also as well, we've had Philly, the podcast. I got to get you back on Philly, man, like soon. Maybe as early as next week, man. I'm going to hit you up on IG for sure, man. And stuff. My man's doing big things, man. Eagles, he get exclusive interviews. He get coaches on the show. Philly's, he's killing the game right now, for real, man. So, but anywho, man, love y'all. God bless you, man. Wash your hands. Jesus loves you. And I know it's random. Wash your hands. Jesus loves you. That sounds so dirty. But anywho, COVID's on the loose, man. Y'all just be safe out there is what I'm trying to say. Just
Dodge that Omarion variant. Don't let it touch you.
Yeah, don't let it.
I got this icebox with I'm so cold. I'm so cold. I'm so cold.
Lord of mercy.
Timberland's he's like the Cookie Monster of hip hop, man.
Man, hey, Touchdown Nation, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. This will be, if I'm not mistaken, Doug, this will be our last episode of 2021. So we're gonna rest up. We're gonna recharge. We're gonna calibrate. Figure out what kind of content that we can bring you guys in 2022. Again, thank you all so much for supporting. Thank you guys for making Touchdown Nation what it is. We're on that road to 2,000 for the YouTube. We appreciate every like, every comment. Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. You know, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your sister, your baby, your dry cleaning lady, everybody. Let's do it. Everybody become a part of Touchdown Nation. We love y'all. We appreciate it. We'll see you in 2022.
Peace. See you next year. Have a good night.
Be blessed.